Hello, beautiful people of the internet. Welcome back to the Blue and Green Zone, episode 2 of week number 2 of the 2024 NFL season. I am joined this time with a good buddy of mine, Joseph Rodriguez, who is a big Raiders fan. Say hello, mister.
What's up, guys?
Yep. He will be on Discord call with me as we look through not only the NFC West of this past week, but also the AFC West as well, as we look at his Raiders team. So I'll switch over here. And this time I did fix the mic. Don't worry, guys. So here we go. All right. Yeah, we're using Google Slides. Bear with me for the professionalism. So here we go. Taking a look here at our past game against the New England Patriots. Went to overtime. A very fun game this was, as the Seahawks had a very good offense. The defense was giving up a little bit, but regardless, picking up that win and moving on to 2-0 to be one of the last 9 teams in the NFL to remain undefeated. And we look over here at the Las Vegas Raiders as they pull off a shocking upset against the Baltimore Ravens here, 26-23, making them 0-2, which is very surprising. But the Raiders here obviously having a very solid game, moving up to 1-1. Do you have anything to say about your team there?
I was very impressed by it. I was stressed out for the first half because our offense wasn't doing anything. But once we got in that second half, both our offensive defense stepped up and made the plays it needed to pull off the win against the Ravens.
Yeah, I can see here, actually, you guys scored only 6 points in the first half, and then in the second, you guys scored 7 in the third, and then 13 in that last fourth quarter there. But moving on now to the standings here, Seahawks are now the only undefeated team in the NFC West, being at 2-0, and the Cardinals pulling off a shocking blowout victory against the LA Rams. Moving them to second place because they got the divisional win and also have more points scored than the 49ers. The 49ers suffering a few injuries with Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and I think even Deebo Samuel. So their all-star lineup of players that they got is not looking so hot. But yeah, the Niners also losing a game as well, but we'll get to that in a bit. As we look over at the AFC West, the Chargers and Chiefs both sit in the top at 2-0. Going to be very interesting to see what those two teams have in store. The Chargers, I believe, are in first place because they have less points scored on them. And then the Raiders sitting at 1-1, very pretty there, very nice after that win against the Ravens. And then, of course, the Broncos sitting at 0-2 with Bo Nix as their quarterback. You got anything to add there? You happy to be 1-1 with this tough division?
Yeah, I'm happy to be 1-1, but I wish we could have beat the Chargers last week, considering we could beat the Ravens. But that would have been nice to be 2-0 right now. But for what it is, I'm happy. So I think we have a chance still. It's still early in the season.
I mean, beating the Ravens is always something to be happy about, so that's a big accomplishment there. As we're going to move on now to player stats of the week. Looking over here at the left side of this screen, we got the Patriots stats. Jacoby Brissett throwing 15 of 27 passes, having himself a touchdown and 149 passing yards. Not the worst, but that completion percentage is not looking too pretty. And then Antonio Gibson being their leading rusher with 96 yards. Ramondre Stevenson also having 81 yards out of 21 carries with a touchdown. Solid rushing stats overall. Hunter Henry as well having a very good game. The Seahawks almost had no answer for him for a bit there. 8 catches for 109 yards. And then Jalen Polk, I think that's how you pronounce it, having a touchdown of his own as well. Very solid. But you look over here at the Seattle Seahawks stats. You got Geno Smith, 33 for 44 of his passes for 327 yards, the most passing yards of the week for week number 2, and a touchdown. Zach Charbonnet rushing for 38 yards and a touchdown. Not having Kenneth Walker really did hurt the Seahawks rushing attack, but regardless, having a solid game there with the passing attack. DK Metcalf, 129 yards and a touchdown out of 10 catches. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 12 catches for 117 yards, which you don't often see 2 receivers going for over 100 yards like this. So very awesome to see. And then, of course, Zach Charbonnet having 31 yards as well, and Tyler Lockett and Jake Bobo both having 15 yards out of 2 catches. And then, of course, Noah Fant as well in the mix, getting 14 yards out of a single catch. So overall, very great passing attack and good offense. As we move on over here to the Raiders and Ravens stats. Gardner Minshew playing an absolutely great game, minus the pick. Throwing 30 for 38 of his passes, having the best completion percentage of the week and the second best in the NFL for the season right now, for 276 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Zamir White rushing for only 24 yards out of 9 carries, so not the best, but still their leading rusher. And then, of course, that passing attack was very lethal. Devontae Adams, 9 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. Brock Bowers for 98 yards out of 9 catches. And then, of course, Jacoby Myers as well in the mix with 29 yards there. And Zamir White for 14 yards. Trey Tucker with 13. Michael Mayer with 11. And looking on over here at the Baltimore Ravens, 21 for 34 for Mr. Lamar Jackson for 247 yards and a pick and a touchdown as well. Derrick Henry only having 84 yards this game out of 18 carries. Lamar Jackson as well rushing for 45 yards out of 5. Zay Flowers having 91 yards out of 7 catches. Mark Andrews having 51 yards. Zay Flowers as well having a touchdown. I didn't mention that, but overall, like, not the worst game, but the Raiders, they just played ball, and they played very well. Do you have anything to add about that?
Well, I was very disappointed with Minshew for the first half. He barely threw for any yards, but once he got to the second half, he threw for, I think, about 212 yards in the second half, so that was really good. He started playing really well, and I know our running game is a problem. We're going to have to work on that a little bit, but if our offensive our receivers are doing their job. They're getting all the yards we need. So if our offense can keep up what they're doing right now, we should be okay, but I'm not too confident yet. I'll just give it some more time, and I think we'll be good to go for the rest of the year.
Right. I think no Josh Jacobs is really hurting that rushing attack for you guys, because he was a very solid, very consistent running back. And not having him is really, I think, showing an effect there.
Yeah, at least we have a good defense now. So Max Crosby got 2 sacks. I'm happy with that.
Oh yeah, very pleasing there. As we look on over at game stats, total all-purpose yards for the Seahawks was 358 yards. Meanwhile, the Patriots racked up 310. Total passing yards, the Seahawks dominated with 312. Meanwhile, the Patriots only had 125. But in rushing yards, the Seahawks only having 46. Meanwhile, the Patriots had 185. Seahawks, obviously, without Kenneth Walker, very much hurting there, the rushing attack. Yards per play, Seahawks having 5.4, Patriots having 4.7. Pretty even on first downs, Patriots having 1 more. Third down efficiency, Seahawks were 7 of 15, Patriots were 6 of 16. Very close. Seahawks only having 1 of 2 fourth down conversions. Meanwhile, the Patriots didn't go for it on fourth down. Total number of plays, both had the same. Sacks allowed, both had the same. Punts were also pretty similar. Very similar in terms of all these stats, except penalties. Seahawks had 6 for 50 yards. Meanwhile, the Patriots only had 3, almost going for the same amount of yardage, though, still. No fumbles, no interceptions. Time of possession also very similar. This was a very similar game. Seahawks were more efficient in the passing. Patriots were more efficient in the rushing. So overall, just a very even game that went to overtime. Seahawks taking advantage of their lack of offensive line. Moving on over here to the Raiders and Ravens game. As you can see here, the Ravens having 383 all-purpose yards. Raiders only having 260 in terms of passing yards. Raiders had 233 yards in passing. The Ravens had 232, so very similar there. Only 1 difference between that. Rushing yards, the Ravens had 151. The Raiders only had 27. Yards per play, the Ravens had 6.1. The Raiders had 4.3. First downs, Ravens had 21. Meanwhile, the Raiders only had 18. Third down efficiency, the Ravens were 3 for 11. The Raiders were 4 out of 12. Fourth down efficiency, the Raiders were 0 for 1. The Ravens were 1 for 1. Total plays, Raiders had 60. Ravens had 63. The Ravens only allowed 2 sacks. Meanwhile, the Raiders had 5 sacks allowed. And surprisingly, they still ended up winning. 4 punts from the Ravens, 3 from the Raiders. The Ravens had 11 penalties for 109 yards. Meanwhile, the Raiders only had 3 for 15. No fumbles. Both teams threw interceptions. Time of possession was very similar. And overall, the Ravens outmatched you guys in a lot of ways, except, the penalties will definitely hurt. And I think that might have been one of their biggest downfalls, as well as also just collapsing in the second half.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add about this game as well with these stats?
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely got the best of us for a good majority of the game, but like, hey, well, if you just if our teams got put together towards the end, we just started figuring things out. Like the beginning, like I said, was rough for us, but once you let the team start figuring things out, you're gonna start getting some good points. So I think we just put it all together well at the end, and I think we have a lot more potential coming our way in the next few weeks if we can keep this up for the next few weeks. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll happen, but let's hope we keep these penalties down because that'll help us out a lot in the long run.
Oh yeah. So moving right along here, we have the standings, or not really the standings, the past games from some of our rivals. Of course, the Niners losing in shocking fashion to the Minnesota Vikings. They scored some points in garbage time, but the Vikings were controlling that whole game and shocked the injured 49ers. But the Vikings, they have Sam Darnold. Justin Jefferson got hurt this game. They don't have the best team in general, and to win that game against the Niners, who are a Super Bowl contender, we'll see how the Niners can do, though. They play the Rams next, coming up here for week number 3. Cardinals blowing the Rams out as well in very shocking fashion. Obviously, the Rams are suffering a few injuries as well, but same with the Niners. They have a very, very solid team, and it's shocking to see them getting blown out in this fashion, especially to a young Cardinals team like this with a rookie receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr., who, yes, is a absolute baller and went off this game, but overall just, a very shocking game there. The Cardinals will play the Rams, or not the Rams, the Lions next for the next game, who the Lions have previously faced the Rams as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Cardinals maybe can double it up here. And then the Rams obviously lost to the Cardinals, playing the Niners next. We went over this already. It's going to be interesting to see that game because the Rams and Niners are both, I'd say, very similar in terms of their star power that they have, and it's going to be awesome to watch those games. Moving right along to the AFC West, Chargers just beat the Panthers in a pretty good blowout game. Obviously, it's the Panthers. You can't really get too much of a gander at that. But they do play the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are also 2-0. Obviously, Justin Fields not playing the best, but getting the team rallied up to a win, as well as also having a very good defense as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Chargers can do for that game. I'm expecting them to win, but who knows? And then the Chiefs beating the Bengals by 1 point in a very, very close game. Some say the Bengals maybe should have won. Who knows? But the Chiefs play the Falcons next, who just rallied up against a big upset against the Eagles, with Kirk Cousins coming back as Kirk Cousins, or Kirk Chains, whatever you want to call him. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kirk it's going to be interesting to see how Kirk Chains does against the Kansas City Chiefs here. And then the Broncos obviously lost to the Steelers. Without even playing Russell Wilson. That's crazy that the Steelers have Russell Wilson, and they didn't even need to play him. So that's beautiful. And then Broncos play the Buccaneers next. It's probably not going to be a pretty game because the Buccaneers have actually been solid. You got anything?
Lose that game, probably.
Yeah. You got anything else to add about some of your rivals playing this week?
Chargers, they're they beat us in week 1, but like, I'm not gonna lie, we would have won if we didn't mess up. Besides that, I think they are gonna stay consistent. Chiefs, I don't know, I think there's a good chance they got a good game against the Bengals, but I think there's a chance the Falcons could win if they can keep it up like they did against the Eagles. And Broncos are gonna become 0-3, and they're gonna stay as bad as they've been for the past few years.
Yeah. Let me tell you right now, as the man who was on the receiving end for that that Russell Wilson trade, all the shit we got from him, like the trades, the picks, and everything. It's been beautiful watching the Broncos collapse after that. And even the Steelers, they're not even starting him because Justin Fields is the guy getting the starts, which is just amazing to see. Anyway, moving right along now to our upcoming games for this week. The Seattle Seahawks play the Miami Dolphins, who are 1-1 and without Tua Tagovailoa. A very kind of shocking injury for another concussion for this guy. Overall, the Dolphins have a solid offense with guys, like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They got, of course, Devon Achane as well. Should be a very solid offense, even with Skylar Thompson. It's going to be played at Seattle, so I'm expecting a win out of this game, especially against a weak Dolphins offense that gave up so much to the Bills. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. And then, of course, moving right along, Carolina Panthers pay a visit to the Las Vegas Raiders. And what I'm expecting, probably a win for the Raiders as well to make the Panthers 0-3. Do you have anything to add about your game here?
Like I said, I always get nervous about these games, even if it seems like it's going to be really easy. They're starting Andy Dalton, the Panthers are, so he is 4-0 against the Raiders, even though this is his Ram stat, but it's interesting to think that. I think we should be able to easily win this game, but I always keep it back in my mind that there's always chances for trap games. So hopefully we can pull it off. I think we will, but there's always that small chance. You never know. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game for us to get a good win out of it.
Oh yeah. I'm excited to see how that one goes as well. Both games are actually happening at the exact same time because they're both played in the West. So we'll be rooting for each other and rooting for our own. And yeah, that's just about wraps things up here. Thank you everybody that may be watching this little low budget production type of podcast. Let me switch over to the main cam. So yeah, thank you for anybody that is watching this. Thank you to Joseph Rodriguez for joining me for today's episode of the Blue and Green Zone. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Good luck to all your teams for week number 3, unless you're a Niners fan. Then hope you lose. Same with the Rams.
Lose, Chiefs, lose.
Same with every undefeated team in the NFC as well. I want my team to be the only undefeated team, because then we'll be the favorites for the Super Bowl. Which I don't want to get my hopes up, but fuck, man, like out of the undefeated teams that are left, you got the Vikings, the Falcons, and the Saints and the Seahawks in the NFC. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think we could be a favorite to be like the best undefeated team, and like obviously the Saints are fucking good.
Saints and Seahawks probably they NFC at the moment.
Like that could just be the upcoming NFC Championship game between those two teams. I'm excited. The AFC, I'm expecting it to be like the fucking. It might be the Chiefs and maybe the Bills again. But who knows? Time will tell. I'm excited. Thank you, Joseph, for joining me, and we'll see you guys back for week 3. Hopefully, Joseph maybe makes a return. So have a great day. Stay awesome.